morning, everybody. We are going live with Mark in 5, 4, 3, 2. I'm sorry, Mark.
It's all right. It's good morning, everybody. Good afternoon to my friends across the pond, because it is afternoon where you are. Amin is broadcasting us from beautiful Austria. I hope you're having a great time there, Amin. So good morning, everybody. Welcome to the State of the Market. I am Mark Sebastian. I am your only option. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about SpaceX and how you can get involved now, and what's going on with all the excitement around that. We're going to be talking about Supermicro and AMD and what's going on. We're going to revisit some of these semiconductors. Then we're going to talk about oil prices are plunging, and it has to do with the Iran deal. Who better to bring in and talk about what's going on in the Middle East than our own expert on government policy? He is Frank Gregory. And of course, then I asked him to do me a little favor. We're going to deconstruct what happened with Avis Budget, ticker symbol CAR, over the last couple of weeks, because there's been some really interesting details, and I don't think a lot of you fully understand exactly what happened there and why this one is very unique to even like a GameStop. So we're going to talk about that as well. And I'm going to have a free gift if you stick around. So if stay around to the end, I've got a present for you guys. Now, as we begin the top of the show, the S&P is up about 0.8%. The Qs are up a little over 1, and the Dow is up about 1.1%, leading us higher. The Dow has been kind of trailing the last few days, so it's nice to see the Dow leading, and this is despite what's happening in oil. Folks, we put out a lot of insights. We do State of the Market every day. I have a VIP SMS list. This list, you'll get trade ideas when I'm going to be appearing live. You'll get access to and information around that, all kinds of goodies. And if you sign up for SMS, I am doing one more free session, zero cost session of Delta Strike today, Wednesday at 11 Central, 12 p.m. Eastern time. And joining that SMS list will give you access to that session today. The link is at the top, posted at the top of this chat. If you're watching me on YouTube or on X, you can email my team, support@optionpit.com, and they'll get you enrolled in our my VIP SMS list. This is a pretty cool thing, and I'm excited. There's gonna be a lot of fun goodies on this. So if you haven't joined yet, hop in. Well, folks, if you thought AMD or Intel was a fluke, it was not, because as good as the Intel earnings were, and they were great, you can see that gap and the run it's had. Since its earnings, Intel has gone from $65 to now $109. Call it a $55 rally, almost 100%, just since the 23rd. AMD might be almost as impressive. Prior to Intel's earnings, it closed $305. It's up $110. That is good for about a 33% move, 34% move. Now, that's not as big as the move Intel has made, but AMD already was in a good position. It wasn't having some of the issues that Intel was running into until the last, call them 6 to 12 months, when Intel stock finally woke up from its slumber. So AMD is absolutely blowing higher on their earnings. The data center revenue, Intel's was great. AMD's was phenomenal. Right now, everybody is making money because there's demand for CPUs, there's demand for GPUs, TPUs, IOUs, you name it. There's demand for it. If it ends in a U, they want it. Except you. You're not AI, so maybe they don't want you. But if it's some sort of chip, they're all about it. Now that will, at a certain point, come to an end. It will. We will hit a point where capacity is, and demand start to meet, and these prices start to come off, and the super cycle ends. But we're clearly not that. So you look and you see AMD rallying, Intel rallying, Qualcomm rallying, Micron, SanDisk, NVIDIA, Global Foundries, Google with their TPUs. If it's got a chip right now, it is hot. You look at the SMH, it's been since April on a massive tear. This is an ETF up 20% in about a month. So oil be darned. Chips are going higher right now. And so now the question is, who is the beneficiary of the chips going wild? That's the area where maybe we haven't found the complete breakouts yet. Who's the beneficiary of this chip surge, the AI demand? There are stocks still floating around out there that may have huge upside, that we're going to be digging into here behind in Delta Strike and in Trade Zone and Turbo Income and just about everything we do here. We're always looking for where that opportunity is. A name that we were looking at that's really started to break out is Global Foundries. Down a little bit today after their blowout earnings on Tuesday. But there may be some real opportunity in a name like GFS, where the valuation is still, despite the big run it's had, only about $40 billion. This is not a large company. TSM, it is the quietest, almost $2 trillion company out there. And they continue to be an underrated winner in this group because they're building everything. They're closer to, every day they get closer to getting those foundries up in the United States. When that happens, this is another really interesting stock that I think a lot of people ignore, even though it's bigger than Tesla. And look at a name like an Oklo or an SMR. These companies all need power. They all need energy. Oklo is a name that's going to be traded here today at Option Pit. Can't tell you exactly what I'm going to be doing, but this is another one where energy is just going to be in such ridiculous demand. These small nuclear reactors, I believe, are the future. So between Oklo and SMR, the great long-term holds, in my opinion, and interesting plays. So don't just think about the ultimate winners. Think about the ancillary winners, right? The rising tide lifts all ships. But there are ships, you've got these chip makers that are aircraft carriers. How do you move an aircraft carrier? A lot of tugboats. Those tugboats are going to have a lot more business, and they're going to be winning. So don't sleep on the tugboat. All right, now, story number 2, SpaceX. SpaceX is going to IPO, and people are very excited about it. But there are IPOs, or there are ETFs that already hold the value of SpaceX in some of their holdings because they got in earlier. Now, do I think that some of these have a completely overblown valuation when it comes to their ownership of SpaceX how much it's worth and where that ETF is trading, yes, there's a concept called net asset value. And NAV is what the net assets of what every ETF is holding. The ones that own SpaceX are trading above their net asset value, some by wide margins, and that's because the expectations around this IPO are currently expecting like a 1.5 trillion valuation for SpaceX, XAI, and the X platform. So you're going to read a lot about these different ETFs that are out there that you can get into. But it is really important to be aware of their net asset value and what you're already buying. These may be priced too high. So if you are sitting there thinking, I'm going to buy an ETF, and when SpaceX goes public, this ETF is going to blow higher, you're probably incorrect. When the SpaceX IPO is announced, these ETFs are going to pop when that date is announced. They will pop. And they will garner interest up to and including about 1 to 2 days before SpaceX goes public. Now, folks, what do you think is going to happen to these ETFs the day SpaceX goes public? Are these ETFs going to go up or down? What do you think? Are these ETFs going to go up or down? I'm going to go out and say they're going to go down. Now, the poster child for the pre-IPO ETFs is XOVR, Bank of America Merrill's private public crossover ETF. There's also RONB. And when that IPO is announced, they're probably going to go up. Then they are going to go down. Why would I own RONB or XOPV when I could just go buy the stock? Why, if I want to own SpaceX after it goes public, do I own RONB or XOPV? There's not a single reason. These names are going to get fried, and they will go back to their NAV, their net asset value. All that premium above NAV will get sucked out. So, how many of you have delved in these? Type in a 1 if you've played in these and a 2 if you have not. Because I'm really interested in whether you guys have delved into these. All right, well, I'm glad you're here. All the people typing 1. I'm glad you're here because that game plan is really important to have ahead of this IPO. If I was a holder of XOPV, I am not, to be clear. The day they announce the IPO and this thing pops, I'm probably going to cash out. So that is your battle plan for the SpaceX IPO that is coming up faster than you realize. Speaking of battle plans, oil is getting smoked this morning. It is down. USO is down 7.5%. WTI crude back below $95 a barrel. Brent getting smoked. VIX is down nicely. Why? Because yet again, like a broken record, we are getting near a peace deal. Are we getting near a peace deal? Are we anywhere close? Or is this just more worthless chatter out of both sides? To answer this question, sort through the news, let's bring in our own policy expert. He is the second finest graduate from Villanova University. Sorry, the Pope takes number one. He is Francis Gregory. Frank, good morning. Hope you're doing well.
Morning, Mark. Doing great. And I would put myself third behind you and the Pope.
I appreciate that. We all know that's not true. I'm hopeful. Villanova talk here. I'm hopeful they get that Italian guy from to play on the team and round out the team. I think if we get him, we're a Final Four team potentially.
And
I think it helps that our absolutely. I think it helps our recruiting case that our first game is in Rome, so he can play in front of his entire family, which will be exciting for him. Although he is from Milan, Rome's just a hop, skip, and a jump, and play in front of an audience of the Pope basketball would be kind of cool. Moving on, Frank. Yet again, more rumors of peace. What are your sources telling you? Is this legit this time, or is it not?
Well, it depends on how you define peace, Mark. I think we're getting closer to a potential peace deal. The problem, as you and I have discussed in the past, is who are they really negotiating with at this point? It's one thing to, if the peace deal is simply ending hostilities, we're not going to shoot at each other's boats anymore. We'll let some traffic pass through the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, that's peaceful, but is it really a deal? And I think we've kind of moved, which not a lot of folks are talking about. We've really moved from bombs to economic or irregular warfare. The U.S. has been trying to put a policy of financial strangulation on the current regime to force regime infighting and to continue to create internal disruption in the country in order to maybe weed out some of the longtime bad actors. We need to degrade that current very hardcore religious fanatical leadership. Keep in mind there's so many different factions inside of Iran. There's the leadership, there's the IRGC, there are to some degree Iran makes Russian oligarchs look look puny. So there's a lot of different factions, and we are now in a position where we are actively trying to undermine the legitimacy of the folks that are allegedly in charge. And that is driving up. We've seized a lot of assets. We've shut down banks. We're trying to shut down avenues of commerce and trade for the regime, and it just helps to undermine them in broader society. So I think it's looking good from a standpoint of lowering hostilities, but is it really what I would call a peace deal? I think I would call it more a peaceful oil relief rally.
peaceful oil relief rally. I mean, stop me if you think I'm wrong, and I'm not a policy expert, but it feels like letting the Iranians get oil through, ending the blockade to open up the whole strait, all that does is re-empower the regime. Does this end with a military dictatorship instead of a clerical dictatorship? Because the more I look at this, the more it does not feel like this is going to end up with the parliamentary really running the show here, unless we start putting boots on the ground or this blockade stays up for another several months. Where's the end game here?
No, I mean, look, I think, the hardliners in this country want end game to be complete regime change, get rid of the hardliners, put in a government dictated by the people. Unfortunately, I don't think that is eventually going to happen. I think you're going to trade one bad actor for hopefully a lesser bad actor. I think historically you viewed the IRGC as the strong arm of the clerical class. Can you bifurcate those out and just have a military junta, for lack of a better term, running the country that is unwound from that very hardcore clerical class that believes that women should be stoned to death for taking off an hijab. I would hope that at the very least you trade up with bad actors, but I don't think we're gonna get out of this with a a golden actor. That's just not going to happen.
I mean, isn't that kind of the?
No, I was just going to say. I mean, if you kind of a very good friend of mine who has spent time in that region officially and unofficially, he pointed out to me. He said, "Look, what is Iran? It's a coalition of clerical powers, IRGC networks, intelligence services, industrial managers, oil and energy elites, financial facilitators, bizarre-linked commercial actors. I mean, sanctioned logistic networks. I mean, you've got so many different actors, and in the end, are any of them really good? No. You'd want that legislative election, but that's just not going to happen.
I mean, this blueprint kind of exists in Egypt. Am I right? Isn't Egypt a semi-military dictatorship that, quote unquote, has elected officials, but really, in the end, the military has kind of final veto? But that group did remove a lot of the heavy clerical nature of the group that had kind of taken over in between. Not Musharraf. Was it Musharraf that was running Egypt? When they removed Musharraf, this is kind of what it feels like it's starting to turn into.
Well, I got to tell you, Mark, for someone who just self-described themselves as not a policy expert, you kind of hit the nail on the head with that one. So, if you look at, the good thing about those types of regimes, and not, look, you want freedom, right? But right. We don't always get what we want. But what we are finding with that regime in Egypt is they are monetarily driven, and that makes them negotiable, controllable, and we can actually, quote unquote, do business with that regime, to the point I can tell you from a U.S. government standpoint, restrictions on doing trade from a defense contractor standpoint have been loosened with Egypt over the last few months. So it's being recognized as a more friendly player. Certainly, from a regional peace standpoint, with as much nonsense going on with their neighbor, in Israel, they're helping to keep a lot of the infighting in that country down. So, a very peaceful Egypt helps Israel a lot in maintaining peace in its own country.
All right, now I want to pivot off of Egypt, and I want to talk about it because this came up yesterday. So yesterday, Hannah and I did a kind of a state of option pit discussion. We laid out everything that's going to be happening over the next 3 to 6 months. We went through the pity awards. We talked about big things coming, including Scanners, Delta Strike, the MTI scanner. We're working on a military defense contractor ETF, custom ETF in-house that would be run with Frank and Andrew. We're working through all kinds of fun concepts. And then we were talking about Alpha AI, which is our engine for finding short squeeze. And the subject of Avis budget came up. And in reading up about the move, and this is why I wanted your take here, the leadership at Avis Budget is really, really angry with one of their large institutional investors, and feels like this large institutional investor may have manipulated the stock and may have caused this whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to talk to us about who this is, what they did, a real like a 20-second rundown on what it is they actually did, and why this may actually be the SEC may actually step in here.
Yeah. So let me give you the bottom line up front. There is enough here for regulators and plaintiffs' lawyers to look hard. But keep in mind, a giant short squeeze that was caused by essentially concentrated ownership, derivatives, and trapped shorts is not itself unlawful unless it was paired up with deception, coordination, or a manipulative intent, right? So that's the key. So, the sequence kind of looked like this. Avis was heavily shorted, mainly because the underlying business model looked weak. Large holders locked up the float. The borrow cover math became super extended and dangerous, and momentum and meme traders piled on. And then when the squeeze broke and supply finally appeared, what did Pentwater sold? I heard it was over 4 million shares. So, maybe about
unloaded
just shy of 2 billion. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, when people look, was there manipulation? It's a darn good theory. But legally, putting my lawyer hat on, I would be very careful how it's framed. I think the public facts show an extreme squeeze that was brought on by concentrated ownership, derivative exposure, and high short interest and thin float. I mean, it's a classic squeeze situation, but absent improper disclosures or, manipulative intent and actions, it's going to be hard to prove.
I mean, Pentwater looked around, folks, saw two big investors that had not bought or sold in some time, saw the short float, and they already held about a 10% position, and over a course of several days through swaps, derivatives, and stock buys, up their percentage to nearly 40%, then disclosed how much they owned, and then the stock exploded. And then at the top, like literally at the top, I mean, if you want to share my screen, you can see Pentwater getting out. And it is in one huge giant candle on the they started at the top on the 21st, really unloaded on the 22nd, finished selling on the 23rd, and within a matter of days the stock was already down. This is very different than a Reddit squeeze, but that is what they did.
Yeah, look, Mark, I think here's what if the SEC or someone came in, here's what they're probably going to look at. Look, scarcity is one thing, but did they intentionally engineer scarcity in the float to force shorts to cover inflated prices? That's number one. Number two is whether the derivatives that you just pointed out were properly disclosed. There was disclosure. Were they properly disclosed? And then the other thing is, what was the other group? SRS. And so, did SRS and Pentwater, if they acted independently and just came to the same, end game, so be it. But if they acted as a coordinated group, that would certainly raise red flags for the SEC. And the SEC says, groups can exist where shareholders agree to act together, right? So, was there some kind of behind the scenes agreement? And then the other issue would be Pentwater, may have become a 10% beneficial owner without proper disclosures as well. So those would be the things that I would look at if I was a lawyer in that case.
I would imagine that there was a couple, probably an old fashioned and a Manhattan and potentially a martini shared at a speakeasy somewhere in Midtown, where maybe some of this was discussed off the record. If I was a betting man, that's just me though. Now, Frank, the reason why I bring this up, because these things don't happen in a market where there's not a ton of opportunity and there aren't liquidity pockets, and where there's not some expectations of the market going higher. And this is really shows that I think the squeezy nature of the market, the traders and hedge funds and asset managers, they're now actively out looking for these types of strategies, other ways to squeeze stocks. My best trade ever that I made was you'll remember this name, Novastar Financial, and it turned into $1 million. It turned into $1 million trade for me, and that was all short squeeze. Traders are seeing these opportunities again when the market is not in free fall and you've got the VIX below 18 and heading toward 15. That is when things happen. We have built a short squeeze engine. We call it Alpha AI. Yesterday on the show the State of Option Pit show that Hannah and I did last night, we unveiled the Alpha AI 2.0. Since we went to 2.0 version, it's been winning at 85%. What we gave everybody at the end of the day yesterday was access to Alpha AI. Everybody access to Alpha AI that wanted to try it. You had to be live and you had to be in the room. But we're offering everybody here, every single person, a 30-day free trial to Alpha AI. Now, here's how this is going to work, Frank. We're going to drop the link to sign up for the Alpha AI 30-day free trial in the chat. Below that, we're going to drop in the password. This password is all caps. So when they drop in the password, it's going to be in all caps. You're going to need to use all caps. If you fill out the form after you get in through the password, we're going to give you 30 days of access to Alpha AI. Now, this costs me money. I have to pay for all the data, all the access from our data vendors. This is not cheap for me. If 100 of you sign up, I'm out. Let's say I'm out somewhere between 15 and 20 grand. So this is a special gift for everybody here. So click that link and sign up. Now, you're watching me on YouTube. You're watching me on X. All right. If you take a screenshot of me on X or me on YouTube talking to you right now, and you email it support@optionpit.com, that is the other way that you can sign up. All right. So support@optionpit.com, just take a little screenshot, send it to the team and say, I want access to Alpha AI for 30 days. They'll get the ball rolling with you. So folks, click that link and take advantage of these squeezes that are popping up more and more. Again, no risk. There's no reoccurring billing. You don't have to even put in a credit card. This is just my present to you because I think you're going to like this thing so much that you're going to want it after the fact. So, it's that Villanova generosity in my heart, Frank.
You're a generous guy, Mark.
I am. So, folks, once again, take advantage of that. Now, every squeeze isn't going to play out like Carr, but there are some real opportunities out there, and we will hit big on one of these. I would say potentially in the first 30 days, and certainly over the next 3 months to a year, we're going to run into one of these big ones. So it's worth being on board. We're signing up. So, Frank, thank you very much for your time and your information. I appreciate you breaking down what's going on in Iran and breaking down the curious case of Carr. And folks, take advantage of the Alpha AI offer that I just laid out.
Hey, Mark,
Frank Gregory, yeah,
can I give everybody a bonus?
sure,
You were talking
absolutely.
before I came on. You were talking about nuclear, and you named some great companies that everyone needs to keep an eye on. Keep your eye on going forward over the next month or so. Brookfield Asset Management. They are doing
BAM?
some. They are creating a nuclear power plant development firm, and it could get them some government money. So just throwing that out there.
BAM it is. Brookfield Asset Management, folks. Ticker symbol BAM. Another bonus from Frank. All right, Frank, thank you so much. So for our DC insider, Frank Gregory, Villanova's second finest graduate, I am Mark Sebastian. I am your only option. I am out tomorrow, so we will have, and Friday we will, I'm out tomorrow. I'll be back on Friday. We'll have a substitute in those, so make sure to join us tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern time for the State of the Market. Folks, thank you so much for joining myself and Frank. And as always, thank you, Amin. Have a great trading day.